how do you know they're magic symbols?
Seeker, my eyes are unveiled to see truly that which is in front of me.
Uh-huh. Thanks, ton.
Hey.
Do these symbols mean anything to you?
Ah, the voodoo code. It is very secret, yes. I studied it with my mentor, the great Queen Tabitha.
Really? Great. Can you tell me what it says?
I'm afraid I could never translate this code for an outsider such as yourself, Monsieur Knight.
Okay.
Could you look at this and tell me if you recognize anything about it?
That's from those voodoo murders, isn't it? That has nothing to do with me.
Okay.
A large, sluggish snake rests on the floor of the fancy bird cage. Apparently, Magenta is not a fastidious housekeeper. A shed skin shares the cage with its original owner. There's a chest in the corner that looks like a carnival machine. It's impolite to mess with other people's stuff. Gabriel should wait until he's asked.
Okay. Let's see. Let's talk to
Can I
her.
ask you a few questions?
Of course, Seeker.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
My practice is mainly selling charms and potions with magic power, such as gree-gree and voodoo oils. You know, everything from unrequited love to wandering spouses to winning a lawsuit. But my spells and charms are powerful, and they work.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Much of a voodooienne's work is protecting her clients from the spells of others. I make special protective gree-gree to be worn in secret. They keep evil spells from working against my clients.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
The recipes for voodoo charms have been handed down from master to apprentice for centuries.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
I have told you all it is proper for you to know, Mr. Knight.
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
Why, that has nothing to do with me and my clientele. But I can tell you that you should stay as far from it as possible. There is badness there. Very bad.
So you don't think the voodoo aspects of the case are fake?
Fake? Let me tell you about fake. If I get information through the grapevine and make use of it, is that fake? No. That is part of a voodooienne's power. If people don't believe, there's not much I can do. But if they do believe, that is a part of my power too. But there are things, monsieur. Things not even a little bit fake, I can tell you. Believe it or not, but stay away from it.
What do you mean? Do you know something about the case?
I work hard on fine-tuning my spiritual antennae, Monsieur Knight. And I get a clear signal from that direction. Beware.
What can you tell me about Nolans?
Nolans is the center of voodoo practice in the United States.
What can you tell me about Nolans?
It is a fascinating city with many dark secrets.
What can you tell me about Nolans?
It is my favorite place in the world.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Snakes? You mean like my beloved Grimwald? She's a python, you know. Quite deadly in the wrong hands. I was trained by one of the great voodoo queens to learn how to hypnotize and handle snakes.
Tell me more about snakes.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't want to give away my trade secrets.
What's the significance of St. John's Eve?
St. John's Eve. It is the greatest night of the voodoo year. There is always a traditional conclave on St. John's Eve. Most of our voodoo churches these days hold functions in the church hall. But in the old days, they had ceremonies out in the wild. They wore animal masks and had a huge bonfire and dancing. I used to go when I was an apprentice. Sometimes in the swamp, you know, Bayou St. John. Sometimes at the lake, Lake Pontchartrain.
Do you have any idea what Cabrice and Call means?
No, I don't.
Do you know anything about Veve?
I don't know anything about that.
Do you know anything about Marie Laveau?
Oh, yes. She was the first of the great voodoo queens.
Tell me about the animal masks.
I saw them used once or twice when I was younger, but you don't see them much anymore. They're too close.
Too close to what?
Just bad karma.
Do you know anything about a secret voodoo houndful?
There are many voodoo churches in New Orleans, no?
Yes, but have you heard of a secret voodoo houndful?
Wherever did you hear such a ridiculous story? There is no such thing.
Do you know anything about black voodoo?
It is the oldest, darkest heart of voodoo.
Do you know anything about black voodoo?
There are some things it's better not to know about, Monsieur Knight.
Does Ogun Badagri mean anything to you?
I don't know anything about that.
Have you ever heard of Dambala?
I don't know anything about that.
Have you ever heard the word Schattenjäger?
I don't know anything about that.
Tell me about yourself.
Yes? What would you like to hear?
How did you get into this business?
I trained in the voodoo arts for many years with the great Queen Tabitha.
Really? Who's she?
You have never heard of her? For shame. I can see you know little of the world of magic.
I'm beginning to get that impression, yes. What kind of people come to see you?
Seekers after the truth, such as yourself.
Do you do anything else?
I'm a voodooian. That is plenty. It takes much spiritual effort.
How many voodooians are there?
No one knows exactly. Many practice in secret. There are probably hundreds. But of course, the level and the power of the voodooians differ greatly, depending on their training and natural gifts.
Tell me anything at all.
I haven't always lived in New Orleans. I came here from Kansas as a young woman.
Tell me anything at all.
I began studying voodoo more than 20 years ago. I'm well versed in the magical arts.
Tell me anything at all.
Many non-believers come to me. They are usually believers when they leave.
Tell me anything at all.
Dr. John sends me many seekers, such as yourself.
Tell me anything at all.
I am happy here with my clientele and my snake.
I can't think of anything.
Very well.
About Grimwald.
What about her?
How did you learn how to handle Grimwald?
I told you, a great voodoo queen taught me. She learned from Marie Laveau herself.
Uh-huh. Fascinating. Where did you get Grimwald?
She belonged to a traveling reptile show. She was being terribly mistreated, so I offered to buy her. She's named after a spirit guide I had once. The spirit Grimwald was a very powerful female snake priestess in Egyptian times.
Grimwald doesn't sound Egyptian.
I only know what the spirits tell me, monsieur. I am sure they know better than we.
Would you consider giving me one of Grimwald's scales?
No, I couldn't do that. You might do some gree-gree of your own, no? One must be very careful with such things. Hair clippings, nail parings, and snake scales.
Are you sure you wouldn't consider giving me one of Grimwald's scales?
I told you, I couldn't do that.
How about showing me how you handle Grimwald?
Really? You would like to see me dance, perhaps?
That would be swell.
No matter what you see, do not be frightened.
I'll give it my best shot.
Gabriel grabs the shed snake skin while Magenta is otherwise occupied.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. What we can't have, we take.
There. Truly inspiring, isn't it?
That's certainly one word for it. Could I ask you a few more questions?
Certainly.
Let's see.
Give me an example of Gree-Gree.
All right. Here's an old one. Take a lodestone and some brimstone to a crossroads at midnight. Light the brimstone with a match. A spirit will come and give you advice in gambling.
Are you sure you can't translate this for me?
As I said, it's a very secret code.
Surely you can see I'm trying to learn as much as I can here. How am I supposed to become an insider if you won't help me?
That's true, I suppose. Perhaps if the Loa were to grant you their approval.
How do I get that?
By using my Ask the Loa machine.
A machine?
Yes. A spirit guided me to it years ago in an antique store. And its guidance has never faltered. I trust it implicitly.
I see.
The spirits often work in mysterious ways, Mr. Knight. If you aren't willing to ask...
No, I'll ask. Let's see here.
Okay. Translate. You are